Hey guys, welcome back to the Gut Girls podcast. We are so excited to have you with us today because we are diving in to kind of like an old but new topic. We're going to show you and discuss the food pyramid. And so, really, what we're going to discuss around this concept is, are we finally getting food right? Which seems so crazy to ask that question. Like, what have we been doing all these years, right? And so, as we look kind of in a little bit at this food pyramid, I should say, we're going to talk about like what's changed about the proteins, the fats, the carbs, and more so what your gut has to say about it. Because at the end of this, we're really going to kind of reveal to you like, are we chasing the food pyramid these days? Or are we chasing something else? And so I want to kind of say, like, in my mind, Dan and I were just laughing before we hit record about when we were growing up and what was in your household as far as like the labels, and guys, remember low fat? Do you remember this season of like everyone was told to eat low fat? There was even low fat sweets in your house. Diana was saying like low fat salad dressings and low fat everything. And then what about the breads and the cereals and the pastas, right? They were such a huge part of your everyday intake of food. And now we're hearing the shift, right? Of like, eat more protein, don't be afraid of your fat, and choose real food. And what about cutting back on like the refined carbohydrates? I mean, you guys hear Diana and I talk about this actually quite a bit. And so we're going to talk about what's changed.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull up here just a minute, like while I'm kind of talking. I'm going to pull up for those of you watching that can look down at your phone. I'm going to show you the difference in what the food pyramid looks like. I pulled up one from the USDA website from 1992, and then I put the one on there for now. And so I want to just kind of dive into this a little bit and talk about literally how they have changed. It's actually really drastic, isn't it?
It's really drastic, which is, like I said, so crazy to think that, like, guys, this type of information is changing all the time. So let's start with the obvious things, right? As you're looking, if you guys are looking, this might be a podcast where you want to, take a minute to look. But the old pyramid, okay, the entire bottom, look at this. I mean, the biggest portion was the breads, the cereals, the rice, the pasta, and like I think it said something about 6 to 11 servings a day, right, Diana? For that was the intake. Oh, you actually have it written there. I love that. I was trying to remember it from when I looked earlier. It's about 6 to 11 servings of these a day. That blows my mind because it doesn't even talk anything about activity levels, does it? I mean, it's just like, hey, here's the general advice: eat 6 to 11 servings of these, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things when you look at the new one, I love that it's so prominent that it's protein, healthy fats, fruits and vegetables now, and those whole grains have come to the bottom. And of course, what we're going to dive into here a little bit is going to be, how do we do this for our gut health, right? And so we want to kind of figure out how we utilize this in our Gut Girls membership with our members and our clients that how do we use this? How do you break it down? Let's talk a little bit. Let's start with protein though, because that's kind of the one that we always go to first for so many different reasons. Honestly, almost if anything any of our clients say, we're like, how's your protein intake? We want to know that first, right?
Exactly. But I think it's interesting because if we go back, I think a lot of people still have this mindset. So I'm going to challenge you guys that are listening here for a second. So for years, people were so focused on just calories in, calories out. And so think about the things like the fats, the carbohydrates. We tended, I think, back to in those days to get our calories from those, more so those foods than anything. So you'd catch yourself having like cereal for breakfast, right? And a sandwich for lunch. How many people, and we're not judging anyone, but even if you're listening, like secretly raise your hand to yourself if that's you, like cereal for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, and then protein becomes an afterthought at dinner. So even when people call us for their, discovery calls, it's like we ask that, like Dana said, and they're like, well, yeah, I eat protein every day. It's with my dinner. And right there, that's the conversation piece Dana was talking about, where it's like, okay, so protein's an afterthought. And I think that still remains for people, actually, Diana, today. I really do. The majority of people we talk to, that's how they design their days, right?
It really is interesting. And I want to make sure that we can, in this podcast, that we make it clear that we do believe that the protein is such a huge piece. And I want to give you an example. I actually posted on our stories, I think it was yesterday, that for my teenage daughters, it has been like pulling teeth to try to get them to eat in the morning. And now that they're getting older, they're very active in sports and activities and whatever. And so now they're finally at 15 or almost 15 and 16, they're finally starting to get it. Like, I feel better having protein in the morning. And so it's not just like, oh, make sure you have protein at each meals. But now we're even getting to have a little bit of the deeper conversation. Like, this is what your body has to have to be able to support you in those sports and in those things that you're doing. So you're building muscle, you're building and maintaining that muscle. And you want to make sure that your kids even start to kind of understand that, like, hey, you really have to support your body with this protein. And so when we do talk to our clients, we do like to make sure that they're getting adequate protein for what their activity level is, just like I have started talking about with my kids.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think when you guys hear us, you might be thinking like, oh, okay, I hear you, protein's important, but I think we want you to actually understand it differently, because when you do, then it's more of a priority and you want to get that protein in versus I have to. And I'm saying that in air quotes. But guys, protein is what helps you maintain muscle. Okay. And I don't know if you realize muscle equals longevity. I mean, it absolutely does in so many ways. I mean, when you think about even muscle, think about like in the abdominal area, okay, like versus someone who doesn't have a lot of muscle in the abdominal area. The muscle is actually what we call it peristalsis, but like pushes up against the organs. So like your digestive tract, and helps it stay like fluid. So it like muscle helps literally the food go down your digestive tract. If you have less muscle mass, you probably have more digestive issues. It's a fact. It's in science, right? So we need muscle for that reason. So you need protein for that. And then if you're older, if you're not getting your protein, you are more at risk for falling and getting an injury that you are not going to be able to bounce back from. So this isn't just us saying like, check the list and eat your protein. I want you to actually think of the value in eating your protein over literally any other medical piece of advice that there is on the market. I think it is one of the most valuable things out there.
It really is. And before we go on to fat, last night, actually, I was playing tennis with my tennis partner. We played tennis together in high school. She was my partner then. And now we played in a summer league, and now we're playing in a fall league. And last night we played a tough match, came down to a tiebreaker at the end. And so we really needed to make sure that our bodies, I'm so glad that I really supported my body yesterday to make it through that entire match. And then we were texting each other last night, and I was like, man, I am just so thankful that I'm able to actually do this. And I said, I want to be playing tennis with you when I'm in my 80s. And she wrote back in all capital letters, we will. So and protein's going to be a big part of that, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
So let's go into fat, because we kind of already mentioned, Angela started out talking about the low fat thing. And honestly, this one feels a little personal to me, because when I go back and think about, like you said, the low fat, all the things in my house were low fat. My mom, which if I'm not going to go into her story, she battled cancer for 17 years, passed away in 2009. But everything in our house, when I was like, I mean, probably 8 to 10 years old, somewhere around in there, when I really started understanding and remembering and being aware of my body, and my mom, and me understanding that my mom was aware of her body, right? So she ran 3 miles every single day. I remember her eating salad. She didn't eat much. It wasn't much quantity of food, but it's so interesting thinking back to how she ate, and a lot of it was low fat stuff. I mean, we were eating low fat devil's food cake things. I still remember exactly like how they taste. They were like chocolate with marshmallow, but it was like low fat thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think back to some of that, and then I think to her health struggles, and I can't help but kind of correlate those and connect those. And I'm sure it's a whole host of other things, but that's where my mind goes back to when we talk about the low fat thing. And now we're starting to really understand that healthy fats are actually a huge piece of the puzzle.
For sure. And what's interesting, if you guys are still looking at this food pyramid, is as you were talking, I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't think I've really looked at this until right now. Look at the fats, oils, and sweets in the old food pyramid. They're like lumped together. Fats, oils, and sweets. I mean, literally, there's like a picture of a donut, a cookie, and I think that's like lard. No, it's not even lard. It's probably canola oil, right? Like, I can't, that blows my mind that they're just lumping those into that category. And what's crazy is, guys, like Diana said, the fats are so important. I mean, your hormones are encased in fats, right? If you are lacking fats, you are not going to have the capacity to produce enough hormones. It's interesting when people do reach out to us and they want their hormones to be optimal. Like that's what they say, like, hey, what do I need to do to make my hormones optimal? But yet they are cutting out so much like calorically to lose weight at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like those two things just don't exist. Like you can't do both. You can't cut out the healthy fats and have optimal hormones. And so I love that, you know, in the new version of the food pyramid, guys, what you're seeing is, I mean, just way more of the, like, look at the olive oil that's in there. Look at the avocado. I don't even think this version that you found, Dinah, of the old has a single avocado on it. So, I mean, you're seeing like olive oil, avocado, you're seeing some good butter. And I don't like, there's nowhere on here is there canola oil, right? I mean, actually, sometimes I'll throw my family under the bus for a second, but I'll go home, you know, probably 4 times a year. And even when I go to like bake something at my mom's, I'll open it up and she still has in the back, she doesn't use it, but it is still there, canola oil. And I'm like, I literally laugh because I'm like, Mom, how long has this been like, you don't even cook with this anymore and it's still in your pantry. It's probably been sitting in there for 5 years. Like, what does that tell you about if you use that in your body? It's not going to be digested, guys. It's terrible. So it's just so interesting that this whole fat thing is coming around where, you know, don't automatically fear fats, guys. I want you to focus on the quality and the source of the food that you're getting, like the fat in your food. And how many times, Dana, do people come with us trying to get their healthy cholesterol better? And the first thing I tell them is like, hey, you need to be eating good sources of fat, like through salmon, mackerel, you know what I mean? Think of the avocado, think of the olive oil, the green olives, all that. You need to be eating that at least 3 times a week, at least, at a minimum. So it's really swapped. And I love the new focus on the healthy fats.
I mean, I really do too. And like you said, there's I feel like they're such a prominent part of the whole pyramid now, which again, like you said, we just talked about all the things that it supports. So, you know, it's funny that shift that has happened since 1992. Honestly, that probably puts me pretty close to the age that I said. I hadn't really thought about the math until just now, but to when I remembered that whole low fat everything that was going on. And so let's point out another huge, like, prominent thing. You already mentioned that the bread, cereal, rice, pasta was 6 to 11 servings every day. Holy smokes. And now it's kind of the little corner bottom piece for the whole grains. And I love that it even just says whole grains, right? It doesn't even say cereal. And so, yeah, I mean, and, you know, obviously, you guys, if you've been listening to our podcast long enough, then you know that we're not saying carbohydrates are the enemy, because they absolutely have a time and a place. That's for sure. But I love that they started getting this right.
Yeah, and carbs are important. I mean, Diana and I will be the first to say it's about the quality of the carbohydrate, it's the amount, it's the individual that's eating it, like what is their actual body needs, their activity levels. That's really what you should be asking. And I think, you know, understand, guys, when you are sedentary and you are eating carbohydrates, you know, all day long, there's literally, again, the digestive system is so stagnant. So that food that is meant for energy is like, it's almost like your body's screaming, like, I've got all this fuel, now move me. And you're sitting maybe behind a desk all day. I'm not saying that you can't change that necessarily if you're sitting behind a desk, but you can change the amount of carbs that you're eating if that is you. But your body is sitting there just screaming, like, I have all this energy. And then we wonder why as adults we self-diagnose or get actually diagnosed as like ADD. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at what you're eating. Honestly, if your body is screaming like, I can't focus, I need to move, I need to get up, it's probably because you're fueling it sugar and sweets and things that like, I mean, the body's like, okay, if you're feeding me this, I must need to go move. I mean, think about an athlete. They can actually get away with more carbohydrates in their diet. They can actually get away with a little bit more sweets because it's the simple carbs that give you that instant boost of energy. So if you're a triathlete, you're running and every so many miles, you need literally straight sugar because you need literally to get that energy in a matter of seconds. And so take that perspective and really consider that when you're looking at how many carbs you should be eating in a day.
That's one of the things that I feel like I've learned from you really over the years. And when I really start to recognize, I don't really write down, we talk about a lot about journaling, but I don't really write down every single thing that I eat, but it's definitely a mental note of what my activity level is for the day. And just like I was talking about my tennis match, and even I'm not a triathlete, but I played a 2-hour hardcore tennis match last night. And I mean, I ate 2 full rice cakes before I went. And I know that that's what gives me the fuel that I need to make it through those 2 hours. And granted, I had already been for a walk. I'd done a little mini kind of exercise that morning. So, my activity level was high. So I ate more carbs that day. And so that's some of the things that we talk about. We'll hang tight on the carbs for now, but that's some of the things that we go to deeper into when you become a member, and we really can kind of personalize it for you. Some of our athletes, we actually personalize it for them. So let's go on to fruits and vegetables. Obviously, it was a pretty big part. It's kind of similar, I would say. It's not changed too drastically, I feel like. Again, this is where you get a lot of those vitamins and minerals. And this is kind of the gut girls, like, we love this part because we do get so much fiber. And that's one of the things that we haven't talked about over the years really wasn't talked about at all in 1992 with the first pyramid. So let's talk a little bit about, how these fruits and vegetables really play such a big role in even our gut health, mostly.
For sure. I mean, just look at the color difference in the food pyramids. You do see a lot more color here. And I love that, we have a lot to say about the fiber and vegetable intake when it comes to your gut, because not everyone is going to be the same. We typically know that a more sensitive gut is going to need a different level of vegetables, and that they might need cooked versus, eating them raw. And I think the other thing too is knowing a little bit about like your family history. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people that maybe have, parents or aunts or uncles that have a lot of, let's say, like IBS issues or digestive issues, just know, like, genetically, guys, your body might need different fuel when it comes to fiber. I think that sometimes we look at the catch-all of like, oh, healthy is, lots of broccoli and cabbage and Brussels sprouts. And it's like, that is, they do have healthy, they have a purpose, right? But not for everyone. And so I think learning, this is where Dinah and I usually would say, don't necessarily just eat the food pyramid, but eat for your gut, because you get to know, especially with working with us in the Gut Girls, about your body and how it speaks to you and how you digest fiber. My gosh, we've even designed, just recently, this like fiber ladder where we literally teach you like how to listen to your body as you're digesting your fiber, to know what your body needs and what it doesn't, and then how to work around that to find literally the diet that is just for you. And so, Dinah, I think that kind of like rounds out, like, if I were to ask you today, do you eat the food pyramid? Like, I'm curious to know what your answer is.
I actually would say it's not far. I mean, it's pretty close to that, because I definitely, the protein, one thing that I could probably do more is vegetables. I'll be totally honest. That's where I struggle to get it in. A lot of times I don't get it in the morning. But then usually I do try to do some sort of small salad or something like that with my lunch. And then always at dinner, I try to have something green. That's kind of what our purpose is. The other night, I actually hit a home run. I was able to do cooked carrots and green beans in the same time, so it does take a little bit more practice and preparation to kind of get it all in. But I would say I really do. I mean, I hit the protein hard. I eat some Kerrygold butter. I love avocados. I cook with olive oil. I don't eat a whole lot of whole grains. Just like I was talking about, when I do, it's very purposeful. It's things like rice cakes, which are really easy to digest for me. I've never been a big bread eater, so that's not been a big thing. Every now and then I'll order from our local farmers market. They'll do like a gluten-free one. My daughter tends to be even a little more sensitive than me to gluten, and so I'll do a gluten-free loaf of bread like every 4 months. So for the most part I do. I mean, and I know you do.
I think that it's interesting, like we'll go through our seasons because we do try to eat pretty like what's seasonal. But I would say that there's definitely seasons where, we might get more of our fiber through nuts and seeds. Definitely, versus maybe the fresh vegetables, but it is so important. We always do have some kind of fresh vegetable in the house, but definitely there's seasons. And I think that's really, Dana, you would say you eat for your gut. I mean, in all reality, like I know that I think that's kind of what's interesting about your answer is you're like, I kind of eat this pretty much, but it's not this exactly. It's what works for you and what you've discovered about yourself over the years, what gives you fuel, what gives you energy, what helps your skin, what helps your joints, like all this stuff. And guys, I think at the end of the day, this is going to change yet again in 5 years. Like, don't doubt that if in 1992 it looked that way, and right now it looks this, other version of it that you see in front of you, 5 to 10 years, it's going to be something completely different. And but let me say this, the foundation is kind of getting better. Like you would see, like the foundation is definitely improving. And so I think the takeaway here is like, if you're depending on a diet or, the government, whoever, of national health, like all the stuff all the research that they're putting together to say, like, this is how you should eat. Do not depend on anyone else to tell you how you should eat. It is always going to change. You are going to change, right? Like, and how you respond to the world around you, your stress seasons are going to change. These are just recommended dietary guidelines. So don't take them to heart. I think the best thing you can do is really get to know your body so that you are not thrown around in these seasons of low fat, carnivore, keto. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you need to really learn you. And I think that's probably our takeaway today.
I mean, it really is. And as we kind of wrap it up, I mean, I want to say the same thing. The bottom line, I feel like we are going more towards a whole foods diet. And so that shift has to be positive, right? Because we're saying no more packaged food, or not no more. That was extreme, but because I definitely still eat packaged food, but I pay more attention to it, right? To look for whole ingredients in my packaged food, which we could do a whole other podcast on that. But the goal of it is that we're eating whole foods. And so, because that's where we get those vitamins and minerals, and that's where we get that nourishment. And so as we kind of wrap this one up, Angela, one of the things that has been like so on my heart, especially since I closed my wellness store after 8 years of doing that, is I really want to talk to the person that doesn't understand this food pyramid very well. Like this is overwhelming. I get it. I get what y'all are saying, but I don't know where to start. There's so much information. I'm hearing this on Instagram. I'm seeing this on TikTok, and all these different things. There's so much noise, and part of it is good because there is a lot of education, but it's like, how do I do that? And so what we try to do in our membership, literally for $15 a month, we have you get started and we teach you about how the way that we believe in nutrition, using some of what you see here with the food pyramid. We don't necessarily talk about the food pyramid itself, but some of the ideas of that, where, lots of protein, and we talk about the fiber and all of the things. And so we actually just redid that for those starter members. We'll call them kind of a self-starter member, where they are just really starting to get the foundation. They want to understand, what does nutrition look like from a gut health standpoint, and how do I get started? This feels overwhelming. How do I pull together a plate? And so we do that, and we actually just redid our whole nutrition guide to make it even more user friendly, where you can take it to the grocery store with you or whatever. And so you get access to all of that, plus lots and lots more. It gets overwhelming sometimes that we have so much education on there, but we do try to make it in a step-by-step how we would suggest that you get started. And again, you can do that for just $15.
Yeah, that guide that we have, guys, is like literally step by step. It walks you through the very basics of nutrition, how to know, like Dana said, the portion that you need, not the portion that, like, the RDA, the recommended daily, allowance of food. It's what you need for your body. And how do you determine that? And it even breaks down like how, like she said, how to design then a meal from there. So like, forget the Dr. Google, forget the diets out there. Start with this foundation. It is going to last you a lifetime. In fact, our members have said that. They have said, like, this is education that I can use for the rest of my life. It's not just a crash diet. It's not just a supplement. Where they're not just selling me something. They're literally educating me on think about how our kids don't get any of this in school. I mean, really think about it. They're never taught this. And as adults, we just go out into the world and we're like, well, convenience. It's all about convenience. And so we do get distracted from literally the symptoms that your body it's literally screaming these symptoms to you because it's actually trying to tell you the way to feel better. So every symptom that you feel, guys, we challenge you to take that symptom, bring it to the Gut Girls, and let us help you figure out what your body is screaming for. And like Dana said, you can do that for $15 a month to get started. And you can always upgrade from there. But we encourage you to head over to our website, www.gutgirls.health. Check out our getting started, like tier 1 membership. And you will not regret it, guys. I mean, you will come away with so much information. You'll be the next person at the party with your family being like, hey, what about this? And what about that? And we're about to jump into that fall season in a little bit, not yet. But you guys could definitely be the ones heading, I think, the family talks coming up if you do that.
Yep. Thanks for listening. We love being a part of your day. We would really appreciate this if you would share, if you would like this, subscribe to our channel. That really helps kind of the algorithm and more people get to know who the Gut Girls are, and share it to your Instagram or, send it to your family members or whatever. We really appreciate that. And we hope you have a fantastic day, and we will see you again on the next podcast.
The Gut Girls podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.